Or the Newman City Council and Redevelopment Agency of February 12, 2008. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads. Thank you for bringing us together this evening. Help myself and my colleagues make the right decisions for the citizens of Newman. Amen. Amen. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Caton.
Present.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Crispell.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Fantasia.
Present. Declarations of conflicts of interest we'll be having this evening. Presentations. First one, presentation of the Stanislaus County Police K-9 program. Sounds like he's ready to go. So
Mayor, members of the City Council, it gives me a great pleasure to come before you tonight and talk about the Police Department's efforts to bring a K-9 program to Newman Police Department. Just as some background information, back in August, we held a department meeting, and during that department meeting, I was asked by several of the officers how I felt about police K-9s. And my response is that it's been my experience that police K-9s are a valuable asset to the police department, a valuable asset to the community, that I was completely in favor of a K-9 program. And then I asked if there was anybody who had the energy to work on the program and bring a program back for my review and approval. I'm happy to report that 3 officers took up the challenge. Officers Jason Hutchins, Officer Chad Earl, and Sergeant Randy Richardson worked on this and brought back a model program. I reviewed it. I sent it back for a couple of clarifications. They brought those reviews back, the additional information I needed. And just recently, the 3 made a presentation to both me and the city manager on the K-9 program, presented the cost of the program, the benefit to the program, and as a result of that meeting, the city manager said, let's take it to the city council. He liked the idea. He was able to come up with $10,000 out of our existing budget to support the program. The idea is to have 2 K-9s, which would allow us to have a K-9 officer, K-9 handler on each squad, which would then give us coverage 7 days a week, 11 hours a day. And the dogs that we're wanting to purchase, the K-9s, would be cross-trained, not only for search and apprehension, but also for drug narcotics detection. Obviously, I don't have to tell anybody in this room, we do have an issue with drugs. It's a problem in our community. It leads to lots of burglaries and thefts. And the way to reduce that is to take the pranksters off the street through drug detection. So it's a wonderful tool. Also for officer safety purposes, it's wonderful. As you know, many times you only have one officer on the street, and you have to have an immediate backup partner. Also, it's great officer safety when the officers have to go in and do building searches for possible burglaries in progress. Also for large crowds, when you have to go in and take over large crowds to get their cooperation. So we've asked for members, K-9 handlers from Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department to come forward tonight and help with the presentation to the City Council. I have with us tonight Deputy Barry Balance and his partner Sergo. And Deputy Balance has been a K-9 handler for 9 years. And also we have Deputy Mark Drury with his partner Rudy. And Deputy Drury has been a K-9 handler for 1.5 years. So I've asked them to come and just do a little presentation to show the council, the community, how the K-9s are socialized, go through some basic obedience, and also the arrest and apprehension or the bite, if you will. And also, Deputy Balance tells me his dog is cross-trained, his canine is cross-trained in drug detection, and he'll also make a little presentation on, our demonstration on the drug detection. So if there's any questions I can answer, I will, or we can move right into the little demonstration.
Any questions?
Okay?
Please proceed.
And we'll just step right outside if we may.
Okay.
Ted volunteers to run.
Yeah, Councilmember Kelly said that he would volunteer for it.
It seemed to be a unanimous vote.
Okay, we're gonna use the mayor as.
She can run the fastest.
I know why. I don't think I ever have to plug it in for it to work, don't I? Okay, I think it's already. I don't have enough USB ports. Plug it in my truck. Oh, okay. Let's try that again. I'll give you this. It's just this guy right here. And then you put up the slideshow again and I'll try it out. Let's see. Now. There we go. So you can go forward, and then if we need to go back or whatever the case may be, yeah, it's not going to let us. I can do it.
That won't allow me if I want to go back, I can't.
Well, you might be able to, if you can maneuver it. I don't know if the select, if you push down on it in the middle, is that selected?
Open those blinds and I can shoot out the window.
Bob, they're all broken. I know. That's,
So you can just twist them.
well, they don't all turn. Let me see.
There's nothing to see.
I think you're better off probably just. Sorry, Bob. I didn't realize they were going to do that. Okay. So, copacetic's down, okay?
We're good.
Okay.
Thanks.
No problem. Let's see what's going on out here now.
That's why
I want to be part of that. You're staying in here, aren't you?
I figure by the time we get to me, they'll be tired.
First thing we're going to do is show you how it does a sniff for narcotics. We don't call it a search because dogs don't search for narcotics, they actually sniff for narcotics. He's been used last year for 145 times, and that's with us also handling initial calls. An average agency like Sacramento, they use their dogs 700 times a year. Because specifically, when they use it, they'll handle the rapes, the domestic violence, all the time. Let's do this, and then I'll go on and talk about the actual ways, how they search, why they search, and what we can actually search.
Somewhere along the line, they changed it to some CHA, yeah. The other one was something else. Of course, Marlene wants us to come up there. Oh, yeah, okay, well, let's see what summer looks like. Here's the Holly Dorn. Oh, I got a new car today. And they spelled fire marshal with 2 L's. All over it. So tomorrow they're taking it back to that. They don't have a lake bar and all that stuff on it. That'll be in a couple weeks, but that's the car.
So there was a study done by a university, so I meant to bring it, I forgot.
It's an expedition.
Study showed that 5 officers searching a building took roughly half hour to search a large warehouse. Their flight ratio was something like 60%. 2 officers in a K9 searched the same area with the same bad guys in the same spots in less than 15 minutes. And the greatest show time frame can't be familiar.
I ended up with the big one.
The white stuff,
It's not.
our dogs, line up command, hold it. They don't run out minor whales here.
I'll
They
drive
might
away
go
here
here.
for the south.
They release verbally when I tell them to release, which allows us, if,
All righty.
my dog bites him, he's holding a gun. They can just hand up free
I'll see you
stuff.
first.
Make my dog release, come back to me, say, here, relax. Searches. The longest search my dogs had, a track, was 2.5 miles. It ended 300 yards in the center of a cornfield.
answer a question for you?
Say that
Can I
again?
answer a question for you?
This is where you did for the water district, the waste management and all that.
You're talking about like the
Raising it?
raise,
Yes.
you bet. Yeah, we're gonna have a public hearing. Will you be able to speak? Have you submitted a protest in writing yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
We need a bunch of other, stack full.
Yeah, actually, there's, yeah, here.
Okay.
So there it is. So you'll be able to speak. I think it's. Okay. So we're up here. Oh, that's where we're at.
Why not? Right?
There's actually three sets.
And Mayor, if I may, we've estimated to purchase 2 canines for Newman Police Department and start up the program would be in the neighborhood of $25,000. We have $10,000, which is currently earmarked, and the officers have been working on this program. Officer Hutchins, Officer Earl, and Sergeant Richardson have committed to going out and doing a campaign in the community to raise the other $15,000. So this is going to be the kickoff of our campaign to close that gap, and hopefully we'll be there in the next 60, 75 days or so. That's what we earmarked. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, or the canine handlers. Should the council have any questions?
I think it's a great program. We appreciate, again, you guys coming down and give us that little presentation, and it's, I believe it's something that's worthwhile, and we'll do what we can to help you raise money.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank the canine handlers for coming down and helping us out. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
We actually created our own association to take in money for stuff that we wanted and needed that couldn't necessarily justify with the agencies. We bought each of our dogs their own individual first aid kits at $500 apiece through donated money. We bought a thing called a Cool Cop, which runs air conditioner from the front of our car to the back area where the dogs are through donated money. We also bought bulletproof vests. They're about $700 apiece for our dogs through donated money. And then last year we had a large donation to make a memorial for all of our past canines. And that's going to be up on our front step hopefully this year. But yeah, you know, car washes have donated money for us. We went out and did a thing called Cause for a Cause with Prime Shine. And we sat out there kind of like the fire guys do with the fire booths for cancer and stuff. And we took in about $8,000 in an 8-hour period.
Wow, that's great. Great.
And not to sound like I'm preaching or anything, but there's a lot of cheap dogs out there. You can get a lot of people that'll sell you dogs for $3,000 or $4,000. We go to a place called Alwarhurst in LA. They're proven. They've been around for 30+ years. Dogs are about $9,000 a piece there. But we've gotten our last 8 dogs from them. We've not had a single issue with them. He has a 1-year warranty on his dogs. You know, that sounds funny, but he has a 1-year warranty on his dogs. If something medically doesn't work out, or you get an issue where the handler and the dog don't work out, because you know it's 2 personalities that have to mesh to work well. And if for whatever reason that just doesn't work out, you run back there and he imports probably 100, 150 dogs a year into the United States from Europe, Holland, and those areas. They're good dogs. You know, they compete in competitions every year, and the last 3 years I know of, 4 dogs of his have completed in the top 10, and you just can't beat the dogs. I know I'm not advertising for him, but I'm just telling you our experience from where we purchase. We've Modesto goes back to North Carolina. They're getting the dogs for $3,000 or $4,000. They're what's called green trained, which means they're partially trained, not fully trained dogs like we're getting, or titled dogs. The last trip they went, they bought 3 dogs. They had to pay their airfare for 3 or 4 handlers to go. You know, fees to come back, motels and all that wonderful stuff. They paid less for the dog, but you add all the travel and all that. And plus, 2 of the dogs they purchased came back with dysplasia, and they had to send them back and make a second trip back there to get 2 more dogs. For us, it's a 7-hour drive to Ontario, and we spent a day there testing our dogs, found a dog we liked, came back the next day. So, just a thought. And I know our sergeant has said if they get ready to go and they want our assistance, we will go down there with them to help pick out dogs.
We appreciate that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much again. And our second presentation this evening is a 100-year landfill study.
Good evening, Mayor Panazia, council members. My presentation tonight won't be as exciting as what you just had, but it is of great importance. We're here tonight because after several years, the county has completed a planning process for disposition of the landfill. We have analyzed through our consultants what land is needed for landfill operations in Stanislaus County, how much we're going to need for buffer and for habitat mitigation. This will be a 100-year plan for the landfill, just for Stanislaus County's solid waste. Gone is the regional landfill from garbage from the Bay Area and the medical waste that went along with it. That's all out the window, and this landfill has been and will continue to be used just for Stanislaus County residents. We are, in analyzing our needs, we have assumed a 2.5% growth rate in population for the county. In a worst-case scenario, that the waste-to-energy plant may go down for long periods of time in the future because of its age. And at some point, it could get shut down entirely. We will be looking at paying back the enterprise fund, since we have more land than what we need, and the grand jury has asked the county to look into it, so we have determined what land will not be needed, and then the county will reimburse the enterprise fund at about $1.3 million. And then the land that is not being used for landfill operations will either be used for grazing or long-term ag leases until it is needed. So that just begins my presentation. Tonight with me I have Stan Reisen from the Chief Executive Office, Stanislaus County, and Sonia Herringfeld, the Department Head for Environmental Resources, who will continue on with the presentation of the disposition of the landfill, where we're at now and where we're going in the future. And then at the end we will answer all of your questions. Stan?
Well, thank you for letting us come out this evening. We wanted to, before we went too far, to have an opportunity to share with you what our plans were, and then getting feedback or comments, answering questions or concerns you might have. Just to give you a little bit of background, in May of 1999, the county purchased about 2,100 acres out at the landfill site, which we refer to as the Vogel purchase. And that brought our total land out at the landfill to about 2,600 acres. Yeah, I'm going to wait. Jim stole some of my thunder, so I'm going to show a slide here in a moment. As you're aware, that purchase and some of the plans that were being discussed for that landfill became a source of great controversy. I guess you could say the one thing we have similar to the canine presentation is it bit a few people at the county. And so in response to that, in 2002, the board directed that staff revise the draft environmental impact report so that it would only meet the needs of Stanislaus County and not provide for the importation of any garbage from outside the county, and directed staff to begin revising that EIR and planning on an expansion that just included 129 acres. It then became a subject of a grand jury report, and as part of that grand jury report, let's see if I can switch the slide. The grand jury recommended that the county sell off any land that really wasn't needed for landfill purposes and reimburse the landfill enterprise fund for that portion of land not needed. When the county responded, they responded that, as you can see on the screen, before disposal of any land acquired with landfill enterprise funds, the county should first establish exactly what land is needed for landfill operations and what land is needed to buffer the landfill operations. It went on to say that staff does agree that after the planning process is completed, the Fink Road Landfill Enterprise Fund should be reimbursed for any property leased or sold in accordance with the plan and approved by the board. To our knowledge, nothing ever really came of these actions. The environmental impact report never proceeded. The planning process of what land was needed for landfill purposes never proceeded. And when we became aware of that a little over a year ago, we decided it was time to pick this issue up, do our due diligence and planning studies, and put this issue to rest. And so late last year, we assembled a team of county staff from planning and environmental resources, county council, and the chief executive office, and began working on the planning of this. To do that, we called for a study with SCS Engineers, a consulting firm that has advised us for years on our landfill. And we had them do what we called a 100-year life study based on the assumptions that Supervisor DeMartini shared with you a few minutes ago. All of the previous studies had only included a 30-year life and had included no population growth. We got thinking 30 years is a pretty short time frame, and we didn't want to be putting future leaders in the position of having sold off land around the landfill that suddenly, now as they're doing their planning, they're having to go back and repurchase. We felt, we need to be able to make sure that we've set aside enough land for future generations when it comes to landfill needs, and at the same time assure people that we're not trying to build this mega landfill or import garbage from outside the county. And so that was kind of a basic strategy that we went into this with. We also felt it should include population growth. To me, it didn't make much sense to not allow for that, because it's a reality of where we're at as a county. With that in mind, I'm going to ask Sonia Herigfeld, our Director of Environmental Resources, to come up and talk you through a little bit of our phasing plan as we see it related to the landfill.
Thank you, Stan and Supervisor DeMartini. Good evening. What I'm going to talk about tonight is kind of our phasing plan, how we looked at planning for the future for the next 100 years of landfill life. And just to kind of get you up to speed as to where we're at right now, currently, this area right over here is the current footprint, for the Fink Road landfill. Originally, back in the 1970s, this area along right here was the first landfill that was opened up at Fink Road, and that was opened up in the early 70s. We're currently working on landfill 2, which is on the east side of the landfill, and we have 1 to 7 cells tentatively planned over there. As a part of the solid waste planning function, environmental resources is required to have 15 years of landfill space available. We have to plan at a minimum that far out. That's a statutory requirement that we have. So when we're talking about 15 years, 30 years, and 100 years, it kind of puts it into perspective. At a minimum, the state wants you to have readily available space for 15 years. And what we're proposing right now as a part of phase 1 on this existing footprint is that will take us out to 2020. And what we're going to be doing is the space between landfill 1, which is currently closed, and landfill 2, where we're currently operating. There's actually an airspace between those two landfills, and we're going to go back to the Integrated Waste Management Board and request that we get permission to permit that space between landfill 1 and landfill 2 after we have completed landfill 2, which is the east side. I hope I'm not being too confusing, because basically what we're going to end up with is landfill 1, which is kind of a mountain on this side, landfill 2, which is a mountain on this other side, and we're going to get permission to permit the space, the airspace between landfill 1 and landfill 2. And what that will do for us in our planning is that should take us out to 2020. So right now, we'll be requesting from the board permission to start the permitting process to permit between landfill 1 and landfill 2. So we're going to be on this existing footprint of the landfill through 2020 based on a worst case scenario. Phase two, if you remember back where all the controversy started, phase two was a result of the request to begin the planning process of what we refer to as the Canyon landfill. And the Canyon landfill is right here. And that's approximately 375 acres. Of that 375 acres, there's 129 of that is proposed to be a future landfill site. We have not, the draft EIR was originally started, but it wasn't started for this particular project. So we have the entire planning process to go through to get the Canyon landfill permitted. And at a minimum, we anticipate that planning process will take 7 years. So from right now, just the 7-year planning process, that already, if you can see, that's already pushing us up against 2015. And if we only have till 2020 on our existing landfill, the margins are getting pretty tight. And let's see, the second phase, that should take us from 2020 to 2021 or 2041. So we're looking at a 21-year lifespan for just phase two of the landfill. Phase three of the landfill, which is the final phase, which this phase in itself will be, by the time we get there, will be split up into different phases because we won't develop the entire site at one time. But what we're proposing is that phase three, this entire area will take us from 2041 to 2100. So that's how we get out to about 90, I believe it's 94, 96 years of landfill capacity. Now you have to remember, each time that we develop a phase of this landfill, we're going to have to offset some property for habitat mitigation. And that's where the balance of this Vogel purchase comes in. And so the total permitted landfill site that we're looking at is roughly about 600 acres. And if we have to mitigate habitat, that can range anywhere from 3 to 1 acres. And so that's kind of how we came up with, we need 1,800 and some odd acres of land to eventually mitigate each portion or each phase of the landfill that we have. And ultimately, our goal will be, by the time we get this fully closed out, we'll be able to turn the original 210 acres back into, either grazing land or natural habitat land, once we have the ability to take the fences down. But again, we're looking at 2040, 2050, somewhere out in that neighborhood. But that's, in general, that's what we're looking at as far as a 100-year plan for landfill capacity.
Good point. After we concluded looking at what we needed for both phasing and for mitigation, county staff came to the conclusion that we had about 140 acres that we could probably deem as excess that we really didn't need for landfill purposes. And trying to figure out where that 140 acres would be, we looked for that land that would be least desirable for landfill purposes, and we looked at natural farm boundaries, farming roads and those types of things. And so we came up with this area right here along the highway, and we're going to be recommending that the board designate $1.3 million of general fund dollars to reimburse the Fink Road Landfill Enterprise Fund for this 140 acres. We had an appraisal done on the property. It came in slightly less than the $1.3 million. The $1.3 million really represents the original prorated portion of the purchase price plus interest since 1999. So we decided to take the higher of the two values, either the current market value or the original prorated purchase price plus interest. Our second recommendation to the board is going to be that they continue the commitment of no importation of garbage from outside the Stanislaus County, and then to assure our community that we have no plans of a mega landfill, we're going to recommend that the board turn around and put the entire 2,100 acres that we refer to as a Vogel purchase into a long-term farming lease. And that includes the 140 acres that we're recommending be deemed excess. And so our intention is to take the entire area outlined in black and do a request for proposal to do a long-term, probably a 25-year farming lease on that area of land. Finally, we're going to ask that the board direct Sonia and her staff to begin permitting on the airspace between landfills 1 and landfill 2. And hopefully we can get back to being within that minimum 15-year capacity requirement that we have by law. I think that pretty much concludes our presentation. We have our contact information up on the screen. If you have any questions after this meeting that you'd like to call and ask either of us any questions you might have. With that, I'll turn it over to Supervisor DeMartini, and he'll kind of conclude our presentation to you.
The county has prepared a packet of information that we'll send to the city manager tomorrow. We've also been given the same presentation to the city of Patterson. So we wanted to keep you informed of just what we're doing with the long-term leases. I guess we can't go back on that, but the different phases of the landfill in the ag leases and the wildlife mitigation. So this is our plan, and I think it will probably take us out about 100 years. And as long as we keep it, the garbage just from Stanislaus County, it should last us a very long time.
Jim, a quick question. With the increase in transportation costs and fuel going up, why is there no landfills on the east side?
Well, because the rest of the board at one time wanted it over here.
Of course.
I mean,
Of course they did.
I mean, you could ask, why we don't have the tartaric plant in Oakdale where it was originally supposed to go, or a tire dump. This was kind of the county's dumping ground to the rest of them, so that's where the landfill wound up. I mean, it's here now, and so we're going to use it, but
It doesn't make sense to have two of them,
I don't
just
believe
as a
so.
pure
It's
landfill.
pretty expensive to permit the things, and we were set up. We have the waste to energy plant here, and it looks like this is where it's going to stay.
Got a lot of room east of Oakdale.
East
Yeah,
of
there's-
Oak.
yeah. Oakdale was where the tartaric plant was supposed to go.
Could I give you just a little bit? We just went out.
Standing, yeah, go ahead.
We just went out for the design process, which will be going to the board for cell 5, which is just, a small area within landfill number 2. And right now we're estimating just the design engineering is going to probably run us between $190,000 and $250,000, and that's just to design the cell itself. The actual construction of the cell we estimate to be between $4 and $5 million. So when you start talking about moving from a permitted site, which is where we're at right now. I mean, we're over at Fink Road. We've got the waste to energy plant there, and it's actually kind of ideal to be co-located because should we need to divert from the waste to energy plant, it's just a matter of the trucks making a left-hand turn and going over to the landfill without any increased transportation of going to another landfill, which would be outside of our county. But when we do an EIR, when you begin to do the siting process, I mean, we would probably be looking at $10 million to site a new landfill, and to mitigate all of those potential environmental conditions in siting it, it's becoming incredibly difficult to do. And the kind of census of the industry in the state of California is that the only landfills that exist now will be the only landfills in the future. And just because it's so difficult to site a landfill anywhere, it's not just Stanislaus County, it's in every county in the United States. And that's why one of the things that other counties are looking at and that we too are looking at is alternative technologies to landfills. And, because that's where the future is going to be. So we talk about 100 years, but if I have my way, we won't be landfilling garbage 50 years from now.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Questions for Jim?
Jim, you said the county is committed to no importation of garbage from other counties. I mean, that's
right.
kind of a statement. How are we protected? I mean, how are we to keep what protects us? I mean, it's just a statement. It really doesn't hold much water.
Well, I don't know if there's anything legally that's built into the program, but, you know, originally it was supposed to be a regional landfill to bring in garbage from the Bay Area. In fact, there was a donation, I guess the kindest way to say it, to the city of Hayward, $25,000 to bring in garbage into this area. The city sent it back. I would say that, you know, it could never happen, but I don't know if it's written into the agreement or the permits, and I'm not sure.
No, but currently, by state law, we cannot prohibit someone from bringing waste to our landfill, just so that you know. But the price of our tipping fee at the landfill compared to the other prices in the other areas, it's what prohibits other people from bringing trash to our landfill. Because the price is what dictates the market when you talk about solid waste. And just to give you an idea, everyone tries to negotiate the best price. The franchise companies negotiate the best price available. Since we're a public landfill, our landfill price is set by our board of supervisors. And at $30 a ton, it's more expensive for a franchise company to bring garbage to Fink Road than it is to haul it to Forward Landfill in Stockton, including the transportation costs. So price is our biggest prohibitor. And it's probably not the answer everybody wants to hear, but it's...
It's not exactly the answer I wanted to hear either.
I understand that, but...
It is such a sore subject, but I would say that we will not allow it.
Well, currently, almost 200,000 tons of garbage goes out of Stanislaus County that's generated in this county. And the reason why it goes out is because the price to deliver it to Forward Landfill is cheaper than the price to deliver it to Fink. And that's garbage that's generated within the boundaries of our county.
It would take the policy of the board to open it up to other areas. We used to have a guy in the county that was going around to as far down as Tulare trying to solicit garbage coming into this area. His name was Lee Torrance. And I know some of the places he went. He could not do that without board approval.
Thank you.
Okay.
Further questions? Jim, thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you. Stan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Items from the public, non-agenda items. If anybody has anything that's not on tonight's posted agenda, now would be the time. Something that's not on the agenda, ma'am.
Good evening. Alva Vi, 136 Rosetta Drive, Newman. Also Vice President for the Park Villas at Sherman Ranch Owners Association. A while back, my son George Vi came in and asked about the signs on Hills Ferry, which state no parking between the hours of 2 to 5 a.m. We haven't heard anything back on that, so I'm here on that again. We're asking that those signs be removed. I know it's an issue about big rigs not parking in the area, which we understand, but I've been there a whole year. I've yet to see one truck parked out there. They do have no truck parking signs in front of the park, which I think would make more sense if you do remove the no parking from 2 to 5 a.m. And put no truck parking would make more sense for the truckers. That would allow us as homeowners there to have access to park our vehicles out there. The development doesn't have inside parking. We have to use our garages and our driveways, or park out on Edinburgh. So once the complex is completed, we're going to have cars surrounding the whole complex, Cinnamon Teal, Edinburgh, and we'll probably need to have access to have parking on Hills Ferry. So I'm asking you to consider changing those signs to make it available for us homeowners to have easier parking. You know, I can see parking there in the afternoon, but you come home late and you just want to park instead of running around all over the neighborhood looking for parking, and then parking there and then having to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to move your car so you don't get ticketed. doesn't make sense, but if we could please look into changing the signs to a no truck parking. Please consider, thank you.
We'll definitely look into it. Thank you. Any other non-agenda items? Seeing none. Consent calendar? I'm not going to read the whole thing since we have a lot of them this evening. Anybody want to pull anything, or everybody's okay with it? Or if not, some direction?
I move for approval.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Public hearings we have four this evening. The first one is second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2008, next to number, amending Title 7 of the Newman City Code, Fire Code, incorporating the 2007 California Fire Code.
Thank you, Mayor. At our last meeting on January 22nd of this year, we did have the Stanislaus County Fire Marshal come out and do a full presentation about the new 2007 California Fire Code and its recent adoption by the state, and we are requesting that you adopt this code as well. It's a procedural thing, so we're going to have a public hearing tonight. We ask that you open the public hearing, take comment from the public, close the public hearing, and then take action as you see fit.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment on this fire code ordinance? See no one, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for adoption, if there's no further questions.
Move to approve second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2008, next to number, amending Title 7 of the Newman City Code, Fire Code, incorporating the 2007 California Fire Code.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And the second one is adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Newman, California, declaring the results of a notice protest proceeding and approving certain actions for rates, fees, and charges for water and sewer services.
Thank you, Mayor. As the council may recall, early last year, the city commissioned Ecologic Engineering out of Roseville, California, to do a comprehensive sewer and water rate study. The intent of the study was to independently assess and evaluate the city's existing sewer and water rates and provide recommendations. The objective of the study was to adequately fund water and sewer utility operations, capital costs, and bonded debt while minimizing rates to the greatest degree possible. This presentation, the study was presented to you in, I believe it was in November of 2007. In the beginning of 2008, or December of 2007, again, the council directed staff to proceed forward with the Proposition 218 vote, at the majority protest vote, at which time we enlisted in the services of MBS Local Government Solutions, and they helped us develop the notice and the mailing. We mailed a ballot or a notice to all residents of Newman as well as all property owners. And so we actually mailed out, I believe, 3,600 notices, of which we have about 2,940 connections. So there's a little bit, and what that is property owners versus user. And as obviously we have some rentals in town. Part of that is Proposition 218 requires you to have a public hearing no less than 45 days after mailing this notice, of which the 45 days has passed. So tonight we are asking you to open up a public hearing, receive public comment. To date, we have received 121 protest votes from the community. That represents about 4% of the 2,940 users, if you will. Now we would have to double check for duplicity and see, making sure that obviously that a property owner and a renter didn't both get their vote in. But at 4%, what we actually need is a 50+1 majority protest vote in order for this election not to proceed forward. So with that, again, we're asking you to open the public comment period, receive additional comment, protest, close the public hearing, and at that time we will do a final count of the votes that have been and protests that have been lodged. So.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Take comments.
Yeah.
Yes.
My name's Teresa Correa Anderson. I'm from Newman, 1160 Stone Glen Drive. I was one of the persons that signed the petition as far as not to have the water raised due to the fact that we have a lot of elder people here, Hispanic people, that cannot afford the rates. I understand in Modesto, the rates have gone up to from maybe $49 to $89 a month. I think that's extremely high for a lot of people in this town, especially when you have old people. You have single families that are on a certain income. Some are on welfare over here, and I feel that it would cause a very hardship for them, a major hardship. And if they need more time as far as getting more petitions, I'll be willing to go door to door to get it up to 50%, because there is a lot of people that speak Spanish and do not know what they had received in the mail. So I'm asking for a little bit more time, and I'll have it within a couple weeks.
Well, we'll appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Julia Valdez. I also live in Newman, 1517 Lockbria Place. Actually, I wanted to also ask for an extension on that to get signatures in protest against that raise. I also live in Newman. I help my parents with paying the bills. I am the only child, and I try my best to help my parents. We are also of low-income family. Despite what I get, it's not enough, besides the bills that I have, but also helping my parents. And again, I do agree with the lady here that we do have a lot of low-income families. I work 2 counties, Stanislaus and Merced, with the Health Plan of San Joaquin, and I have seen firsthand, as a community outreach representative for both counties, as well as San Joaquin County, that there are a lot of low-income families. And in my line of business, that's kind of the target audience that we look for, especially for uninsured children with healthy families. And talking from that perspective, it's just there's a lot of low-income families, and such a huge raise in the rates, especially at this point of time, the way the economy is, I think would be a real huge damper on families who are trying to save up for, let's say, health insurance or other most important things in their daily life versus, as well as rent, especially with all the foreclosures that are going on, versus paying utilities. And I'm saying from my viewpoint, since I do see this in 2 counties, Stanislaus and Merced, I'm asking please and respectfully for an extension on that, and I would definitely love to help you with any of those signatures that you do. We do a lot of health fairs, and hey, I'm willing. And I do a lot of volunteer work, but in that sense, from what I've seen, again, that raises a lot. If you are going to raise it, maybe raise it just a couple of dollars, maybe 2 or 1. But a $10 raise on some of them, especially for residentials, is quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
My name is Manuel Salazar, resident here in Newman, and I'm at 637 Renee Court, and I'm also speaking on behalf of Mary Cicluna, who is the owner of the property in which I live, and also a number of residents within our cul-de-sac that's in there. It's a long one, and a lot of them are asking, what are we going to get for the amount of increase in our water bill, and to what effort is it going to go to service just the people we have in our city right now? We know that expansion is always occurring in cities throughout Stanislaus County, and we've experienced it here in Newman. But the thing is people are asking, what are we going to get for that increase? And is it going to be adequate to service the community for a long period of time, or is it a short-term thing where we're going to get another increase? Times are hard right now. Economy is suffering greatly. People are commuting to the Bay Area who live here, and they are suffering gas prices as well as possibility of losing their homes because of the big crunch. So these questions are constantly being brought up in our neighborhood, and we just want to address them to you. If there is an increase, maybe a smaller increase has been stated before, we know that there is a need, and we'd like to see clean water. We'd like to see our water recycled and a lot of things done with our water to be able to use in our city again and again. But once again, I will tell you, there's a lot of people out there who are a little upset at the increase. So I want to pass that to you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Anyone else? No other comments? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion.
Mayor, if I may just clarify, we do have a program by which low-income families that qualify generally if you qualify for the PG&E low-income discount, you get a 20% discount on your water and sewer rates here in the city of Newman as well. So I encourage the low-income families to take advantage of that if you qualify, if you have not already taken advantage of that.
But it goes by a certain rate.
Yeah.
Certain part of your money, if you exceed 50 cents or $1 over, you don't get it.
Well, we go by the same program that PG&E goes by. So we offer a 20% discount to low-income families that can demonstrate that they are that. And people need to understand that this is a cost for us to provide this service to our residents. The city is an enterprise fund. We don't make any money off of this. It costs us this much money to provide you the service. And that is what all we're asking for. We're not asking for more. We're not asking for expansion money to accommodate new users. This is not what this is about. This is about the city covering their cost. If we do not cover our cost, we have to use general fund monies to then supplant the money that we're not covering. So therefore, we have less opportunities for recreation, less opportunities for public safety, including police and fire services, and streets, parks, recreation, those types of programs as well. So that's why we run this as an enterprise fund. It's basically a nonprofit fund, and we just try to fund the daily operations. As everybody knows, energy costs continue to escalate for our home PG&E bills. Can you imagine what the PG&E bill is for the sewer treatment plant that has pumps running 24 hours a day? Those costs are very exorbitant to us. We have labor costs. We have additional state mandates. The state comes in and mandates that we treat and do certain things out at our treatment plant. They don't give us money to meet those mandates. These are mandates upon the citizens and upon the city. That's all that we're trying to recover here. So essentially, when we've done the cost analysis, the monthly rates would go up to $30.58, which is it's a $6 increase, just a little bit over for the sewer, and the water would go from $8.65 to $10.90, and which is still a very reasonable water rate considering that water rates have not gone up in the city of Newman in over 20 years. It's still a very reasonable rate. So all we're trying to do is make sure that the cost of service that we are providing to our residents is recouped, and we're not having to supplant the monies and the shortages with our general fund, so we can continue to provide exceptional and high quality services to our residents. We do have low income programs to help fixed income personnel and families on fixed income or on low income. So we encourage you to take advantage of that if you do qualify for it. So.
Well, in regards to your response there, I will say that yes, those programs that you referred are probably called REACH and CARE, which my family is on. But at the same time, they do look at your income level. REACH is like an emergency plan for PG&E, but they also have CARE. But at the same time, if that is something that is an issue in terms of that's the rates that increase are for, you had mentioned if they don't increase, we'd have to take money from the general fund, then maybe we can invest or create some kind of program with alternative energy, or possibly do research in that way to be able to find other alternatives. You had mentioned that's the cheapest thing, but maybe on the other side, but on the family side, that's actually not the cheapest thing. But if there's ways that we can somehow do research on alternative energy, whether it's adding more windmills of some sort, which may cost some money, a lot of money, but maybe there's other ways or other alternatives. I think maybe that's something that we need to look at too. You know, and especially with environment, things that are also environmentally friendly of some sort.
Thank you. I think one of the keys the city manager said is, you know, we're not trying to make any money off this. We've held out as long as we could, and a lot of this is due with the state. The new regulations, the regional water control boards putting regulations not only on the sewer but on our water also. They're telling us to go look for other sources of water other than the wells we have. So we're just, you know, we're kind of mandated what they tell us also. So we're just, you know, we're doing what we can to keep up, and that's where we're at today. Further comments?
The other thing, the water rates haven't increased in 20 years. This is the first time the sewer rates have. And we're all very aware of the cost factors involved. You know, we're trying to keep it down to the bare minimum, but that's the bare minimum.
If there are increases in, say, population to Newman, as we've been watching it grow, does that rate also cover that? Or are we going to have another rate increase?
We have studied for sewer, this takes us through 2011, and for water, I think it takes us through 2010. I can double check on that. Proposed rates in 28. Now we're just completing our water master plan, and as we go forward and look for surface water, which is a higher quality water, it's not so salty. You won't have to go down to the water mill, and you won't have to get water softeners and reverse osmosis. Now that's a project in the future, and once that water comes to us, yes, we have to go out and buy surface water. It's very expensive to purchase the water rights and to purchase that and to treat it. So yeah, our rates will go up again, but that's probably in my estimation, probably no sooner than at least 5 to 7 years before we can even get that kind of program up and running. So,
does that cover quality of water for drinking also, consumption?
The next phase of it would. This one does not. This one does not. So.
It all has to do with what the state tells us to do. The new regulation. Who knows? 5, 7 years, what new laws they might throw upon us. So you never can tell. You just don't know.
Mayor, with that, we needed 1,471 votes, I believe, to have a majority protest. We fall significantly under that. Again, at previous count prior to this meeting, it was a 121 written protest. I'm not sure how many of the people that stood up today actually submitted a letter. Even if the 3 of them did, that puts you at 124. That's roughly just over 4%, not equivalent to the 50+1. So, with that, we would ask you to adopt the attached resolution and move forward with the rate increase.
Do we have a motion?
Well, unfortunately, I don't like increases as much as anybody else. However, if we don't do something now to keep our present system running, my question would be, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to keep it running? We as a city can't continue at this rate, so I don't want to have to pay more money. I'm on a fixed income myself, but I know what needs to be done. So with that, I would move to adopt resolution number 2008, next number, resolution of the City Council of the City of Newman declaring the results of noticed protest proceeding and approving certain actions for rates, fees, and charges for water and sewer services.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item C, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2008, next number, approving zone change number 2007-02.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, we're holding an additional public hearing due to a typographical error and also the second reading of ordinance number 2008, next to number, approving the site plan review numbered 0702. This site plan, this zone change is to bring the subject properties into general plan conformance as mandated in our 2030 general plan. This was initially presented to you on January 22nd. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back for some direction.
I make a motion that we approve the zone change 07-02.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And D, adopt resolution number 2008, next number, a resolution establishing the fee for a site plan review application.
Me again. On November 15th, the Planning Commission reviewed and recommended ordinance number 2007-12, amending Title 5.25040. On November 27th and December 11th, the first and second readings were held by here in Council. The site plan review involves multiple people and can span out to many agencies. Any agency or jurisdiction that would be affected by the proposed site plan review must be notified and given an opportunity to provide comments. These agencies include, but are not limited to, Caltrans, California Northern Railroad, the Regional Water Control Board, the Air Pollution Control District, the school district, anybody that would be affected. Times include, an average application can range anywhere between 8 to 15 hours of work. That is internal staff time. That doesn't include the time that these agencies take to review it as well. For example, the building department usually is a minimum of an hour. City engineer, minimum 2 hours. Planning department, I can take as much as 9 hours working on a single project throughout the span of the project. Police department reviews it, Public Works reviews it. Please note that these are average estimates for a typical application. Each application is unique and may require less or more time. I consider the 8 to 15 hours as a median measurement, just kind of middle of the road. The proposed fee would be $340. That would be a baseline amount. Any additional costs incurred by the proposal would be paid in full by the applicant prior to it going to the Planning Commission. That way, all costs have been covered. With the implementation of this proposed fee, staff time and processing costs will be recovered. Up to this point, the city has been absorbing all the processing costs. This way, we'll be able to conserve those funds and offset that cost. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Questions of Stephanie?
Steph, what do other towns do? Did you check that out? I mean, what do they charge?
It ranges based on the type of project. Some cities, such as Modesto, are much more detailed in their site plan review. They've got things as little as, I believe it was like $200 for a very minor site plan review, all the way up to $1,000 mark. It just depends on what type of project they're submitting. I believe Turlock was actually higher than that. Cities more our size, we're pretty fair matched. I believe we're all around the same zone. If anything, I think this proposed fee was a little bit more towards the lower prospect, just because, we are a smaller town. But as, specified here, it would be, costs would be offset. Any additional costs would obviously have to be paid.
Who will this actually affect most? I mean, developers or residents, or who?
I would definitely say typically developers. I haven't encountered a resident ask for a site plan review yet, so I think mostly developers.
I mean, even a resident that wanted to expand their garage or do something like that?
Typically, that would go to architectural review. We wouldn't require a site plan review for that.
Gotcha.
Further questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Would anybody like to comment? See no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back for some direction.
I so move that we adopt resolution 2008, next number, establishing the fee for a site plan review application.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stephanie. On a regular business. Seems like all this time and we're just getting a regular business. Item A, adopt resolution number 2008, next number, a resolution approving a reimbursement and settlement agreement between the City of Newman, Newman City, SCM, Hearthstone LLC, and typo.
Thank you, Mayor. A long time coming. This is a substitute reimbursement and settlement agreement that we have been working on for a number of months. And so what I'd like to do is just kind of hit the highlights for you. As what are some of the following terms of the agreement. The duration of this agreement will be 7 years, and it will be dated on May 1st, 2007. It's a starting point that both parties agreed to, and you need to start somewhere, and that was a good point to start at, and so we agreed that would be the date. All impact fees shall continue to be subject to an annual escalation factor. As you looked in your package today under the consent agenda, 2.3% is the inflationary factor that we're going to be using for this coming year. The amount not reimbursed to the developer through free credits will be subject to the same escalation factor, so they just made 2.3% tonight. Congratulations, guys. To ensure accounting accuracy, fee credits will be fixed. So what we've done is fix the fee credits at the 2007 rates, and so that helps for accounting. And the builder will be required to pay the escalation amount as part of the building permit process. So the 2.3%, the amount that went up this year, that'll be on their building permit, and they'll be paying that in cash, and then the city will keep that as part of that. The city has agreed to provide the developer with water and sewer connection fee credits. In return, the developer has agreed to pay the city a 3% administration fee. Future fees collected from the area defined in Exhibit B shall be split between the city and the developer on a 50-50 basis. The city shall be entitled to a 5% administration fee associated with the collection and redistribution of fees collected from future development. The city has agreed to make cash payments for outstanding park fees and traffic fees and water and sewer connection fees collected after May 1st of 2007, so we'll be reimbursing them for those. And lastly, the developer shall reimburse the city for all outside costs and expenses incurred by the city in connection with the negotiations leading up to and the preparation of this agreement. When it was all said and done, I can come before this council and this community and say I think what we have today is an agreement that's fair for the city. It follows city policy that was adopted as far back as 2002, and some of the existing agreements that we already have, and I believe this is a fair agreement for the developer as well. So with that, I'm pleased to present this substitute reimbursement and settlement agreement to you for your approval. I know the developer's here and they may wish to address you.
Comments from the developer? 3 minutes. Sorry.
It'd take you 2 years to get here, and I have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll give you 6. How's that?
If you had a dog,
3 minutes
you'd be
for
all right. It'd be a half hour.
3 minutes for.
I can't compete with that.
3 minutes for each year. How's that?
I do have a pooch I'd like to donate to their program. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Steve Mothersell, President of SCM Homes, manager of SCM Hearthstone LLC, 1920 Standiford Avenue, Suite 1, Minnesota, California. It's been said that the truly successful settlement agreement is one in which none of the parties are happy. And in that case, I think that there's things that the city staff would have rather had. There's certainly things that we would rather had, but we have a settlement, and I think it's fair. I think it's fair, and I'm happy that it's over with. It has been a long time in coming, and it's time to put this thing to bed and move on. We have plenty to do, and I appreciate all your patience. Appreciate the hard work by staff and staff's counsel. I did agree in a weak moment in early January to reimburse the city for its cost in the preparation of this agreement. I had asked that there'd be one extra word added in that particular provision, and that word was reasonable. I asked that you underscore that spirit of negotiation with Michael as we work to closure, and I still am willing to do that. I did that at the onset in early January with the understanding that we were going to have it on your agenda on my birthday of January 22nd, but we couldn't get the Scribners to do any scrivening in time to get it done. So it's here finally, and I'm still of the spirit to do that so long as it's reasonable and fair in that regard.
I do consider Michael's comments to be on target as the costs relate to the preparation of this agreement. This is the one that we've put our hearts and soul into to get to this point. And I wish it were easier, but in this process, the numbers are big and they require a lot of thought and negotiation and fairness. And I'm happy that we're there, and I'm happy with the agreement. I hope you are too. And I ask that you move ahead and approve it tonight so that we can put it to bed and move on with our business plan. I do have one suggestion with respect to, and a small commercial message with respect to your rate increases. You could explain to your constituency that if they purchased a new SCM Greenbelt and Energy Star home, those offsets would be more than offset by many times in the energy efficiencies of their house. So if that's any help, please feel free to suggest that they do that. Anyway, thanks for your time tonight, and again, I just request that we move ahead.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Steve.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you sticking to your agreement to pay our fees, and you just got some free publicity tonight, so you can't buy publicity like that. Thank you. With that, if there's no other questions, we'll bring it back to the council.
I move for approval.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item B, adopt resolution number 2008, next to number, a resolution urging the California Air Resources Board to increase the district share of Proposition 1B funding.
Thank you, Mayor. At the request of Chairman O'Brien, Stanislaus County Supervisor, we've attached this item for your review and potential action. And part of it is he's requesting part of the Proposition 1B funding, which was air quality funding. The staff at the California Air Resources Board has made the recommendation that only 25% of the funds be distributed in Northern California and 75% be distributed in Southern California. However, our Central Valley is impacted by about 45% of the goods movement from diesel trucks. But yet, again, we only receive 25% of the money. So adoption of this resolution will, again, support Chairman O'Brien's efforts to get a more reasonable amount of funding allocated towards Northern California as opposed to Southern California.
Questions? Motion?
Make a motion that we adopt the report, or the
Resolution.
The resolution, excuse me.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item C, adopt resolution number 2008, next number, a resolution approving in concept a countywide transportation financial expenditure plan.
Thank you, Mayor. In November 2006, there was a countywide initiative that went forward for a half-cent transportation sales tax program, and that was placed on the ballot. Unfortunately, the county didn't support the measure by the required 66 2/3 necessary to approve the measure. Although 58% of the voters did approve with it. So, in December of 2007, the Stancog Policy Board, by which our mayor sits, directed Vince Harris, who is their director, to meet with the 9 city managers and the county CEO to develop a consensus-based framework for a new transportation expenditure plan. So in January, all the city managers and the county CEO came together with the assistance of Director Vince Harris and Bill Bassett of the Alliance to develop this framework. And what we've done was, one of the major things we did was we scaled back the term of the half-cent sales tax from 30 years to 20 years. And what that did was knock it from about $1 billion of anticipated money to $700 million of anticipated money. What we also did was, as a group, has worked and kind of consolidated the program a little bit more. And what we did was 50% of the monies will go to local jurisdictions for road maintenance and improvements. And the other 50% will go to regional transportation projects. So you're looking at about $350 million for local transportation projects to be used by the local jurisdictions as they see fit, as long as it, again, is a transportation enhancement maintenance type program. Can't use it for our aquatics center.
Fortunately not.
Yeah, unfortunately not. So, the second component is for regional impacts. And what we did in this particular instance was break it out into 3 corridors. Now we've identified a northern corridor, and there's a project that's identified in your staff report on that, and that's a North County corridor lane. It's 2 to 4-way expressway from Dale Road east to Oakdale. There's a central corridor, which is a State Route 132 widening from I-580 to State Route 99, widening from 2 roads to 4 lanes, and also some operational improvements. And then there's a off-ramp. Money would be earmarked towards an off-ramp at Mitchell Road and Service Road, and that's in series. And then the southern corridor, which is the area that the Newman sits in. Unfortunately, we don't have a direct project on here, but there's West Main improvements that would widen and provide operational improvements from Turlock to I-5. And one of the other things that we have done as part of this program, and again, trying to get 9 city managers and the county CEO to agree on something is a difficult task. And a lot of politics that go on because each city has a council they have to come back and report to. One of the things we agreed upon, though, was any additional funding. Now we take $700 million, and that's an estimate of how much money could be generated. If additional money is generated, again, half of the money goes to local projects, half goes to regional projects, and the half that goes to regional projects are split up in thirds. A third to North Corridor, a third to Central Corridor, and a third to Southern Corridor. So if there are extra funds that become available in the Southern Corridor, the city of Newman will have an opportunity to apply for some of those funds. And, maybe some of it is making sure that we have sufficient right-of-way from Stir Road to County Line. There's projects on a regional basis that we can work on. Stir Road from Highway 33 out to I-5. There's projects that we can potentially work on over the next 20 years. But the true benefit to the city of Newman is the local monies. Again, $350 million would be distributed amongst the 9 cities in the county over a 20-year period. And I have to really give credit to the county and the county and the CEO. I know he has to take it back to his board and still get approval, but they really stepped up and made sure that all the cities are whole in terms of how much sales tax they produce, how much money they would produce versus how much they would get back. Fortunately for Newman, while we only generate 0.6% of the sales tax in the county, we worked out an agreement that the money would be distributed on a population basis. So what does that mean to us? It means while we would only generate 0.6% of the sales tax, we would get 2% of the sales tax here in the city of Newman. So under a formula of which was based on sales tax collection, roads, and population, we would have only got about $2.9 million, which is a significant amount of money over 20 years. Under the current formula, which is moving forward, it's anticipated that we're going to get about $6.8 million. So we're going to get about $340,000 for local road maintenance projects over the next 20 years if this transportation tax goes forward. That is a net increase for the city of Newman of about $4 million. Now you can use that for leverage money. You can do that for local projects. You can use it for different measures, different projects as the council see fits. But ultimately, that is a long-term positive impact upon the city of Newman, its residents, and the conditions of our roads. If you have $350,000 a year to put into your roads and trails, that's a significant amount of money to help you upgrade your roads that are out there right now. Currently, we don't have a program in place that allows us to go out and do the maintenance that I know this council would love to do. It's just a general fund. It's just a general fund accounting measure. But if you have this money, $350,000 a year, and it's roughly $350,000 a year, that you have to spend on roads and trails, I'm sure this council could do a lot with $350,000 a road. And you can do a systematic approach of making sure that our roads are properly maintained and paved, repaved, re-oiled, new, non-motorized transportation. We're talking a pedestrian and bike path network if we wanted to do whatever we wanted to do that was either, but it had to be transportation oriented and go forward. So with that, I know that I am extremely positive about this program and what it could do for the city of Newman and its residents and the conditions of our roads. I think it's net beneficial for the city in tune of about $4 million. And that could go up over the long haul. So again, we are estimated to get between 6.7 and $7 million over the next 20 years if we can get behind this as a community and support this measure to a tune of 66 2/3%.
See, Michael, when I was doing some of my research and reading on this, that was my good friend Farrell Jackson Oakdale was doing a lot of politicking for his city and city of Ceres, and particularly I found it interesting that I guess we are Turlock and us are the last two cities to take action. I think Riverbank took action on it last night. I think it was. So it was interesting just when I was doing the reading on how everybody was really jockeying for position. Ceres wanting the Mitchell Road junction improvement interchange there, and Oakdale wanting to make sure they got their fair share. But I did notice that and I don't remember who made a remark about some of the smaller cities on the west side could be maybe not get their fair share, and I don't remember who said that, and I left my paper I had all marked up at home, but I think it's a it's a good thing, and you're right. I'm sure it was a lot of politicking going on, a lot of talking to get the county and all 9 cities together to come to an agreement. I did find it interesting that, again, I don't remember who made a remark about the corridor from Turlock to I-5, how West Park seemed to get mentioned again on how it might or might not benefit them. And I don't know if it was the mayor from Patterson that made comment towards that. I don't remember specifically what she said.
And that comment, that issue, that name, West Park, never came up in our whole discussion. This was really about the city manager from Turlock understanding the importance to his community, and the city manager from Patterson understanding the impact of Maine on his community and connecting those two. Now, I think ultimately Patterson's going to be looking for a bypass, a north bypass in Maine around their city. So they're already starting to think that way. And I know, the city manager from Turlock has expressed some interest.
I remember, something was said about the bypass from Patterson and Las Palmas and maintaining the integrity of the palm trees.
Right. So and that's all where that all came from. But again, it's still fiscally positive for the community of Newman. I think we would tremendously benefit from it.
Mike, I'm going to support this, but my question is this: what's the sales tax now?
Here,
yeah,
7.375.
7.3 something.
Yeah.
Now, all that doesn't stay here, does it? It goes back to the county.
Well, the state takes a majority.
State majority. I'm just curious. My question is this: what part of that has already been allocated to transportation or to the roads?
Well,
and we're not getting it now.
The sales tax that comes off of gasoline,
right,
and it comes back to the roads. But again, the state takes a majority share of that. If you're not a self-help county, now a self-help county is a county that has passed a local transportation tax. If you're not a self-help county, you have limited access to state and federal funding because you cannot provide the matches, match money.
Yeah.
If you're a self-help county, then the state and federal government look favorably upon you, saying, okay, you're doing your fair share. We're going to come in and provide the extra 50%. You put up 50, we'll put up 50. But if you don't have the mechanism to create the 50% match on your side, you don't have access to those funds because there's 20 or 30 other counties in the state that have this, that are self-help counties. Now, when you leverage this $700 million into state and federal programs, probably the net benefit is what you're going to see. You're going to be looking about $1.5 billion the $2 billion is probably what's going to come into this county, because you're going to be able to leverage a lot of this money and moving it forward. So, and that's future.
Michael's right. When we go back to D.C., you know, we talked to Cardoza, Boxer, and Feinstein. That's the first thing they want to know. How are you coming any closer to being a self-help county? Because if we are, and like Michael said, we'll have matching funds. We can really, they favorably will give counties money that have matching dollars to do projects. They want to see projects done. They'll give money to counties that are self-help because they have the matching dollars and they want to see project get done because it's not only good for us, looks good for them too.
How close are we?
8 2/3%. 58% is what the voter approval was last time, and we need 66 2/3. But we think a more scaled back program. You know, we were our own worst enemy. You know, the white male between the ages of 30 to 60 are the people that really voted this down last year, the last time around.
It's still going to be a toughie.
It's going to be a tough. Yeah.
Commuting, as Manny said, that it's going to be. People are hurting.
You know, nobody wants more taxes.
Yeah.
Except for Mike Meyer. Nobody wants more taxes. But again, the federal government, the state government never want to put in the first dollar. They always want to put in the last dollar of a project. So you have to create that first percentage and show that you're capable of funding this project. They'll gladly come in and put the last dollar in and say, see, we made the project work. But it's you, the locals, that have to take the initiative to get the first part done. And without a half-cent sales tax, transportation tax, we're going to be behind the 8 ball for a while. So hopefully we can get behind this and campaign for it on our own time, obviously not in public, but I think it's a good measure.
And Ted, you mentioned sales tax. The average city gets 1% sales tax money back. That's the average, 1%.
1%.
That's state average. So
Wow.
It's not very good.
Wow.
If there's no further questions, some direction?
I would move to adopt resolution number 2008, next number, a resolution approving the concept countywide transportation financial expenditure plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item D, consider for approval the Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan, FYI 0809, and open 30-day public comment period.
Good evening again. The City of Newman is part of a 6-member CDBG consortium that's led by Stanislaus County. As required by HUD to receive CDBG funds, we must approve an annual action plan annually. The AAP outlines our projects and goals for the upcoming fiscal year. Our goals include things such as infrastructure projects, community service projects, basically things to improve the community. Today, staff is requesting that council release a draft plan for the required 30-day public comment period and set the public hearing for March 25th, 2008 at 7 p.m. or thereafter, and close the and consider approval of the draft annual action plan at that meeting. We are expecting to receive the official draft annual action plan from county any day now. I have a preliminary draft. We ended up having like a 44-day comment period, so we don't technically need the annual action plan until the 30-day mark. So county should be getting that to me very quickly. So is there any questions?
Questions? If not, a motion?
I'd move to approve.
I second that motion.
2 seconds, that's good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Must want to approve.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stephanie. Item D, award bid for outsourcing of utility bill printing.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight I'm here so we can award the utility bill print and mail services to InfoSend. As most of you know, we're still printing on the old postcards, and we use the dot matrix printers to do so. And the finance department is trying to get away from the dot matrix printers to laser printers to update, quit wasting so much paper. And in doing so, it takes away the postcard option. We're no longer able to print those on using the laser printer on a postcard. We looked into
good question. The postal rates are going to go up. They
Yeah.
just talked about last night, so
Right.
a couple cents maybe, or I
Well,
wonder how much
they
they're
do
gonna-
use the bulk rate, so it depends on how much that affects the bulk rate. The general rate, like the 41 cents right now, is used for shut-off notices because we have to have more than 500, and we only have about 200 right now. But using InfoSend, because they're mass mailing out other bills, we get the advantage of using the bulk rate for the late notices as well. So it's a little bit cheaper for us.
So Sonia, you said it's about $1,400 a
Yeah.
month?
14, it's 1,464. 3,000 is an estimate on how many bills we have. It's a little bit less than that.
So would it be fair to say then, I guess for purposes of awarding the bid, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with about.
Well, it's
What
about
I'm
because
saying is it going to be $1,400 this month, or could it be $1,500 next month?
only if we have a high increase in bills. We base it on 3,000, which is actually an overestimate of what we actually are sending out. So technically, it will be a little bit less. And I can only give you an about because if more customers come in, then of course it's going to go up.
So if we said not to exceed $1,500, would that be fair?
No.
Well, you
I'm
can't-
just curious.
It's hard because if customers,
do
if we
that, though,
increase
right?
the amount of customers,
I think-
customers.
Yeah, it
then
goes with
it's
how
gonna
many
go up.
households and how many
Right,
bills we have to
exactly,
send out.
exactly.
I understand that. I
think
understand
it's
that.
more appropriate if we say not to exceed 49 cents per utility bill.
Exactly,
There
I
you go.
agree.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate way to word
Okay.
it, because that's where we're getting it at right now, is just under 49 cents per utility bill. So we don't know how many on a month-to-month basis, but we know on a per unit cost. And that's what we need to be basing this upon, is a per unit cost.
The company out of Modesto, what was the drawback with them?
They're 55 cents per unit.
Okay.
I really wanted to go with them just in case there was an emergency. We could, get over there quickly. But the cost is really high, and I couldn't get the contact was very poor, unfortunately, and I couldn't get it adjusted. And the salesman at InfoSend is very personable. He's easy to work with, and he has helped me along every step of the way. He's the only company that actually sent me the examples, and they're willing to do the setup fees free. So doing the whole internet program and putting together what our bill would look like wouldn't cost us anything. And ABS it would.
Okay. Did you check into India and China?
No.
That's called outsourcing.
Darn
Dan.
right,
We don't
man.
do that.
Take out our source.
I didn't think the shut-off notices would come in time.
Good job, son.
Any further questions for Sonia? If not, some direction.
I would move to award bid for outsourcing utility bill printing not to exceed 49 cents each.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mayor, and what I'd like to clarify and request of Councilman Caden, if we have a
Postal increase.
postal increase, the staff has the flexibility to move that forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item F, review and approve the comparator cities for the classification and compensation study.
As the council knows, we have been moving forward with the classification and compensation study for miscellaneous employees. Again, this is for our miscellaneous and management employees. We are recommending that the following agencies be included in the survey: Atwater, Ceres, Dos Palos, Gustine, Houston, Livingston, Los Banos, Oakdale, and Patterson. And those are a lot of the agencies that we directly compete with that you would see for employees. We do have a mix of agencies that are both smaller and larger than us. I think they balance out well. And so with that, we would ask that you approve this list. We have sought the input of the labor group, operation engineers, and to date we have not received an answer from them. So of who they wanted and those types of things. So.
Questions?
I think it's a good cross reference there, Mike. I think you got some good ones on there. I was hoping to see Los Gatos and Carmel, but
I'm sure our
if I were out there in that audience, I'd want to see it. I'll tell you that. No, it's a great cross
I wanted to
reference.
go with Volta, but
Huh?
I wanted to put Volta in there, but they threw that one. So. If there's no further questions, then some direction.
I make a motion that we approve the comparator, I've never heard that word before, cities for the classification and compensation study.
Second that motion.
New every day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Never heard that word before?
Honest to God, never have.
Come on, Dad.
Can't teach no dog new tricks.
Item G, report from Supervisor DeMartini. Jim, do you have anything else to add? Or? Okay.
Good evening again, Mayor Fantasia, council members. I just have a very short report tonight. The West Side Healthcare Task Force did meet in Gustine on February 7th, where we put together quite a few statistics and tried to come up with a working model that might work in this area. We still got a ways to go on this, and we're still trying to decide which direction to go. And county council is going to get some different statistics and make a different model on the next time. We did have a presentation from the Great Valley Center here in Modesto who talked about healthcare and how, of course, they came to the conclusion we were underserved here too. We already knew that, but still it was a pretty good presentation. And the next meeting will be here in Newman in March 13th. And we will have somebody from UC Merced here speaking to us about the healthcare as they're attempting to get healthcare facility training in Merced. So that should be pretty interesting. It's a slow process, but we are making steady progress. In each meeting, we just come a little bit further along. Also, on another matter, just very briefly, because I know the Mayor Fantasia was with me at the Sacramento last week, also on February 7th. We're met with Senator Denham, Cogdale, and Kathleen Galgiani over some direction on the Oris Timber Creek flood control project, trying to narrow the focus down to the detention basin. The State Water Resources Board was there also, and they were actually fairly accommodating compared to what we'd seen in the last meeting. And I know maybe the mayor would want to say something more about it later, but they still have some concerns over the sycamore trees. But I think the agreement that we did get out of them tentatively is they would not stand in the way of this project for the time being until a little more analysis is done. It was a very productive meeting. But there's still a ways to go on it.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Just tagging on to that, we were outnumbered by people from DWR at that meeting on Jim. There was, 5 of them, and the rest of us were 5. But we had called this meeting because back in November we had that community meeting. The gentleman from DWR at the time made the statement that they had plans for that acreage up there, and they were going to do this, this, and this with it. We'll come to find out those are his personal statements because he retired the next month. So we just wanted to clarify with DWR, and the director, as Jim said, Lester Snow was there. We just want assurance that nothing will be done with that property until the Army Corps is done with their studies. So, and we asked for that in writing, and I think we're going to get that. So that was our main concern and that's always been their direction, that they would keep that till we were done. But we were a little concerned about this gentleman's statement. But as was found out later, he's gone, and we're back on track. So thank you, Jim, for attending that meeting. Appreciate it. Items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple updates. We will be meeting with Ecologic tomorrow, and we will be going over our wastewater collection master plan. And then that is scheduled for a presentation in front of this council on February 26th. We will not be asking for action from you that night, but what we will then be doing is presenting a draft to the public. So we wanted to do the full presentation to the council ahead of time, so you could see it as it went forward. And then on Friday of this week, we will also be meeting with Ecologic about the water master plan. And Ernie, help me. Are we scheduled on the water master plan for the 26th as well?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, there'll be a or that stormwater. Is Jerry coming for a presentation on this?
Stormwater should be either Gary Rogers or Bob.
Okay, are we doing 3 that night, though? 3 master plans or 2?
We have the stormwater, water master plan, and the sewer code.
Okay, so we got three master plans that are going to be coming before you in the next meeting in February. So that'll be storm drainage, water, and wastewater. Again, as you know, staff has been working with Ecologic and Boyle Engineering to set the table for the next wave of development when that should occur by updating our master plans. And that coincides with the adoption of the general plan that occurred approximately 1 year ago. So everything's moving along. We're getting our house in order so that way we know what is necessary in order to support future developments if the council so desires to move in that direction in the future. We have a plaza meeting next Tuesday, 2/19 at 3:30. We'll be going over the next level of development plans and how those are proceeding, and so we'll be getting very close to bringing something to council, hopefully. A week from this Thursday, which is the 21st of February, we'll be having a 2-on-2. The mayor and Councilman Greenclaw will be accompanying myself to Patterson to talk with the city of Patterson and Citygate. As you may recall, Citygate is a consulting firm that's looking at the fire protection study. So we'll hopefully be bringing back some information to you for the 26th as an informational item on there. And then lastly, I'm pleased to announce that what you looked at today was the Stanislaus County Annual Action Plan. Just at your last meeting, we asked you to approve some CDBG projects, and we weren't sure of what the exact monies were going to come in. There was some talk that money might actually come in lower than we originally anticipated. I'm pleased to announce that the city of Newman will be getting an extra $20,000 than we originally anticipated. So we'll put those into the next projects. You should be aware that our staff, and this is both Ernie and Stephanie, do an excellent job of delivering projects. They are far ahead of all the other cities in the county in terms of delivering projects. So our increase in dollars amounted to more than cities of Oakdale and Patterson, cities that are much larger than ourselves, because of these two people, Stephanie and Ernie, that deliver the projects on time. So, and then if you saw, and Ernie will touch on a little bit, we're doing a little bit of progress at the park. So, and then lastly, as part of our annual or quarterly meeting with the CDBG administrator from the county, Aaron Farnham, we started talking to him. Hey, we kind of got this aquatic center project going on over here. We're going to be able to use CDBG money if this council so desires, to install the perimeter sidewalks and do some of the infrastructure work at that particular site. So again, tapping into as many sources as we can for funding to help get this aquatic center done in a timely manner and increase the budget. So we'll be asking at our next year, the 09-010 year, that we start allocating some of those CDBG monies towards the aquatic center and the installation of sidewalks and possibly turf and the like. So with that, that's all I had, unless any council member had any questions of me.
Michael, how's the red tape, so to speak, and planning on our new storage pond out there at the sewer farm progressing? We should be able to break ground spring or midsummer.
The Infrastructure Loan Bank contacted Wendy Wiles, who's the supervisor at the Regional Water Quality Control Board, she's kind of a fireball. So we had to get the professor involved to calm her down and get her to back off a little bit. So the professor just finished up a letter today. I'll be signing it off and sending it to Wendy Wiles and her director tomorrow, because her director needs to know what's going on with this. So we're trying to get this back on track, but it's been hijacked by the Regional Water Quality Control Board, who's requiring us to put this in for the last 60 days.
I thought everything was okay with them.
Well, they have to do a WDR, and so we're just hoping that they do the WDR just for the new storage basin and not for a whole new permit on the whole entire facility. So we had to go back and retrace our steps going back to June of 2006, and we went and met with them. And so, again, we're trying to pry it out of Wendy Wiles' hands, and when it's been stuck there since December. So. and she just, I will place a call to her and say, look, I need you to get back to me this week. She won't get back to me for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. and no matter what you do, they're just, people at the state level, and I talked to our Congresswoman Kathleen Galgiani about this. They have this. They're not there to facilitate and help local government. They're there to be a hindrance, and it's people like Wendy Wild that's giving the state a bad name. They're hijacking the process and not facilitating these mandates and helping us reach these mandates that they're giving us. They give you a mandate and then they put a roadblock for you to achieve it. Now,
They're pushing their own personal agendas.
Don't get me started on this.
Oh, sorry. Having been to a meeting a couple years ago in their office in Fresno, they're quite intimidating people.
Oh, and this one's
You have-
worse
you
than
have to
Joanne Kipps.
Stick to your.
Remember
your
Joanne
guns.
Kipps?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
this
remember
one's
her.
worse.
Yeah. Was this her like protege? She taught her everything she knew.
Oh, she's terrible.
This is being recorded, right?
Hey,
that's going to help.
She was a tough cookie.
Michael, one other quick question. The Felberg request on the park fees in there.
We believe that's been taken care of.
Thank you.
Further staff reports? Guys, wake up back there.
Gee, Mel's here 2 meetings in a row.
And he stayed for them all too. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mayor, members of the City Council, just a few things I want to report out. First of all, I appreciate the support for the K-9 program. That's going to be an exciting program for Newman Police Department and for the community of Newman. So I'm really looking forward to that coming to fruition. On the enforcement side of the equation, we had a very successful operation. I know you read about it in the paper. And it was a probation parole audit. This was an operation involving 30 officers from the probation department, parole agents, Newman Police Department, Sheriff's Department, so on and so forth. And it was a way of going out and making sure that the people who are on probation and on parole are living by the terms and conditions of their release from jail and prison. And we had 51 addresses that we visited, and we made 9 arrests for various offenses, a violation of probation, violation of parole, a lot of drug-related offenses, and recovered 100 items of suspected stolen property. And in addition to that, we came up with a lot of criminal intelligence as to who's responsible for the recent burglaries that occurred during the holiday season. That is an ongoing investigation. Speaking of ongoing investigations, I just want to let you know that due to staffing issues, we haven't been able to fill the detective position. However, starting tomorrow, Officer Brett Short has been appointed detective, and that detective position is now filled, and we'll be able to then carry on with these criminal investigations on the recent burglaries. So it's, again, exciting time for the department as we build up our staffing levels. We're remodeling the police department on several different fronts. You probably noticed the front of the police department, the fire bay doors have been replaced with a roll-up garage door. The first scratch coat of stucco has gone on. The walls, they'll finish that up over the weekend, and it'll have the same appearance as the existing finish. We're going to be replacing the fascia boards that are rotten, if you will. So in preparation of painting the police department and city hall, that's the next step. We've been working on the locker room, the men's locker room, the women's locker room. We've made great strides in that. There's a challenge from the city manager to have this project done by February 29th. Thank God it's a leap year. I get an extra day on this project. I can use the extra 24 hours. And again, it's a project that the troops are taking on themselves. Basically, we're providing the material and they're providing the labor and doing a fantastic job. Well, we've also, I want to publicly thank Ernie Garza, Public Works Director, for coming up with some money that he had left over from a project to allow us to do the facelift on this side of the police department with the roll-up door, the new stucco finish, allow us to go inside the fire bay and have a regularly sheetrock walled-in property room. That heretofore was just a chain link fence. So again, it's what we've needed for a long time, and we're bringing up the standard of the police department. You may have also noticed we have the new front door has been installed for the police department. This is finishing off the project, the window replacement. The door was special order, just took a couple of weeks for that to come in. Now that's completed. So again, it's a very exciting time for the Newman Police Department. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Chief?
One question, Chief.
Sure.
Do the canines participate in your current raid, the 51?
Yes, during the raid, we did
Audit.
not have a K-9 initially with us. It came up.
It wasn't a raid.
Oh, it was an
Yeah,
audit.
the audit.
It was an audit, it wasn't a raid.
Yeah. Where'd that word come from?
Audit.
During that audit, it came to pass that we needed to have a dope sniffing dog, and very instrumental. We called the sheriff's department, they responded immediately, and it was very instrumental in several of the arrests that we made. So, and also, getting back to the K-9, thank you for making me remember this. The K-9 handlers for the Newman Police Department will be those who put this program together, and it's reward and recognition for their work effort. So Jason Hutchins and Chad Earl have been designated the K-9 handlers, and Randy Richardson, the sergeant, will have supervisory administrative oversight of that program. Again, they're the ones that worked hard to put this together, and they're going to be recognized and rewarded for that effort. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, you realize Ernie's going to want that money back next fiscal year. It's just a loan.
With interest.
Yeah.
Chief, are we going to require the dogs to live here in Newman?
Yes, we do. And they get the home loan assistance program.
New houses.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I have a little bit of show and tell here. This is the new storage building. It was built at the Waterworks office. As you can see, it's a building that Monty Hall would be proud of.
Monty Hall.
Yeah.
Door number 1, 2, and 3. Is that what you're?
Make a deal.
Exactly. The next slide shows the building that Mr. Kurt Klein came before you and requested for Regional 911. So that's their building, and that's the wiring coming down off of the antennas that they put on the tower. And this is the new restrooms at facilities at Pioneer Park. That's one shot of the angle of the split face block that they're putting in. That's one from another angle, and then finally, as you can see, they're already going up. They're about that high with the block, and they put in all the slab, the plumbing, so they're the door frame, so they're moving right along. At the last meeting, I told you about us moving forward with our Stan Cog project for our sidewalk infill project on Kern and Driscoll, the south side. And now we're working on the CNG vehicles. I believe that the request for that is going to the policy board, and they should be approving it, I think, this month. And as soon as we do that, we can approach Caltrans and ask them for a request for construction so that we can move forward and purchase additional CNG vehicles. Our next also CDBG project is the sewer main line replacements. They're going to be done in about 5 different locations throughout the older sections of the city, where they have been giving us some clogging and issues with that. I also met with GDR Engineering last week, and we had some issues with PG&E gas lines, with the conflict with those, so I think we pretty much resolved those. So I emailed Gary Davis today and let him know that to move forward with the project so that we can advertise it, award it, and get ready to go to work on it by late July, early August. Any questions?
Where's my tree?
It's on order.
Jesus. It's in the mail, he told me.
Thank you.
Let's all kick in $5 and get kidding.
So, no. Ernie already bought me seeds.
Spirit of being neighborly. Seeds?
evening, Mayor, council members. It'll take a while with seeds. Both adult and youth basketball are well underway. No major problems. That's always good for us. I have been working with Jeff Petero, the president of the Newman Youth Baseball and Softball Board, to create an agreement both parties can be happy with. We've both agreed that the lines of communication between the city and the board need to be a little more open and a little more friendlier than they've been in the past. So it's going well. I think it'll be better than it was last year. I've already seen a difference, and you'll be seeing kids starting practicing this week probably. I have been working with Bill Davis, our martial arts instructor, to bring an 8-week self-defense class to Newman. We were planning on starting it this month, but then he decided he wants to run it with his martial arts class and do like a certification and everything instead of just doing a class and saying, okay, you're done. So he's going to run it with his martial arts class and how they do their promotions for their belts and such. And then he'll do, after this 8-week, he'll do an intermediate class. And I do want to remind you all that our martial arts instructors, they are total volunteer. And they do it 2 nights a week.
It's great.
That's great.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mel, do you have a report tonight? Oh, okay.
Good to see you, Mel.
Okay. Items from city council members. Mike?
I have nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Bob?
I have nothing.
Nothing? Ted?
Just want to compliment Ernie and his crew because of Lake Kelly. It's nothing. It's fantastic, Ernie. You've done a great job there, and I can actually tell my neighbor to keep his mouth quiet now because he's always busted my buns about jumping across there. But it's dry. It's beautiful. Great job. Thank you. That's all.
Hit?
I have nothing this evening.
And I had nothing either. With that, we'll
So moved.
entertain a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
I need to talk to Michael.
I'm going to buy you a tree one of these days. Yeah.
No kidding. Get that guy a tree.
What kind of tree you want?
Get a tree.
Mulberries, those things grow fast, so get one of those.